Welcome to Iowa Speedway for round 11 and 12 of the 2025 NTT INDYCAR Series. Welcome to qualifying, and now we're about to get underway. The field is ready, we're ready, let's head down and hear trackside noise.
6 winners from the 21 races thus far held here have come from outside the top 10, including yourself, Mr. James Hinchcliffe.
It's true. It's true. Back in 2018, started outside the top 10, managed to pull it off. And again, this is one of the racetracks that drivers don't stress qualifying quite as much because of what you've just said, Will. Between the 2 lanes of racing that we normally get working here and some crazy strategies that can play out with the way the yellows tend to fall here, you can make some moves. You can have some oddball strategies that put you back in the mix if you don't have a good qualifying.
First group of qualifying will be Abel, Eilert, DeFrancesco, Schwartzman, Rob, Foster, and Rahal. We are going in reverse entrant points order. And we've got to say, as of this morning, Abel and the Holdale Coin crew struggling, approximately 10 mile an hour off the ultimate pace. This despite Mike Cannon joining the team and all of his knowledge and wizardry that he can put on cars when you're turning left. They need to find something, though, coming into this all-important qualifying session.
All 3 Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan drivers there in that first group of 7 that'll run, and they'll need to find some speed, James. It's been tough on the ovals for them this season. Graham's had 20 races here at Iowa, has had a few top 5s, but the last few years it's been really tough to sniff into the top 10.
And we saw Graham just a second ago. He had a smile on his face, but he was also 21st, 2nd, and 3rd in practice for that team. So not a lot of hope, I don't think, that this organization is going to have strong starting spots. They're going to have to get it done on strategy in the race.
Louis Foster with a pole already this year. Graham Rahal's last pole, Portland, back in 2023. We're back, and Jacob Abel getting ready to roll out on track. Before he does, down to Georgia Henbury.
Rinus VeeKay is set to qualify. Now, Rinus, you didn't test here, and today now you have to practice, qualify, and race all at once. How do you get in the same mindset to go fast here in qualifying?
I mean, this has become the place where you're flat, so that makes it easier, I guess. Just got to keep the pedal down, trust that what we have is good. I think we ended on a happy balance at the end of practice, even though we only have 45 minutes instead of the scheduled 90 minutes before the tornado showed up. So I think we're going to be okay. A little bit unknown about what's going to happen, how it's going to be, but good thing this has been a good season, so we can look at a lot of guys, see what they do, and then adapt.
Speaking of the season for you, you were 7th at Gateway, the last oval that we head to, and then you were plus 17 spots last weekend at Mid-Ohio. What is clicking so well with you and this team?
I think what you said, it's a team. We really are a team, and everybody works together really well. The strategy's working every time, and we make it work. So it's just it's a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun, and I think just everybody's really motivated around me.
Setting the lineup for not only today, but tomorrow. That's Rinus VeeKay.
Second slowest in practice this morning, 5 mile an hour off the pace. But when we look at Gateway, qualified 18th, finished a brilliant 7th. In fact, in the last 3 races, Rinus VeeKay has made up a ton of positions. This man, though, Jacob Abel, out on track. His best time this morning, a 174.7
And we agree.
mile an hour lap. Townsend, he has it all to do, and he is the first guy out there today.
Yeah, and his teammate Rinus VeeKay will be watching so closely because you have to think that their cars are pretty equally set up as Jacob Abel takes the green flag. And James, like you talked about, you just don't get a chance to really settle in. It's take a deep breath, hang on tight, and just try to send it and feel what you got. I mean, if you're going to make a bar change around here, it's going to happen in a split second on the back straightaway because you never stop turning here on the front to unload the bars.
You're absolutely right. I mean, even on the back straight, you're almost turning right to kind of fight the car's natural desire to go left. It's hard to make changes. Weight jacker's quicker. You're seeing lifts at both ends of the racetrack right now for Abel coming out of the throttle. Hybrid deployment off of 2 and 4, and it's already over.
That's it. It's done. And both laps way faster than he achieved this morning. His first lap on 175.2. His second on 177.1. So Abel using all of his hybrid on the second lap, out of 2, all the way through 3 and 4, and to the line. The line here, the start-finish stretch is not a straight by any means. It is almost entirely corner after corner, just that short straight between 2 and 3. Ilott now out on track, was 16th quickest this morning. His teammate Robert Schwartzman 17th quickest this morning. A step forward for Prema in terms of their ultimate pace. Let's see how it shapes up for him here at Iowa. Second on track, 177 the target time for the second lap, 175 for the first as green flag flies.
He's had 4 previous races here at Iowa, and amazingly his 2 best finishes were in the first 2 attempts, a 12th and an 11th back in the doubleheader in 2022. A little bit of chasing the throttle still there at 3 and 4. It looks quicker than what we saw from Jacob Abel, but clearly not confident yet enough to hold the throttle all the way down.
Uses 75% of his hybrid on the first lap, only 25% left for the second. And that first lap, a 181.2. Exiting 4 and over the line. His second lap, a 182.2.
182.2 would have put him 7th in practice, so that's a pretty big jump. Pretty good improvement in qualifying trim. I mean, again, in practice, it's so hard to get a clear run when there's 27 cars trying to find track position here on a 7/8 of a mile track. So practice is one of the harder ones to read here compared to others. You never really know what people are getting in terms of their clear runs. Deb DiFrancesco now getting the signal to head out onto the racetrack for his attempt, first of the RLL cars.
22nd in practice, 179.7 his fastest lap. The tricky curved exit of the pit lane here, easy for drivers to spin even on pit exit. We saw that from Pato O'Ward in practice this morning. We've seen it over recent years in the races as well. Begins his warm-up lap. So little time, 17 seconds approximately is how long it will take you to circulate this less than a mile oval.
And Dev's going to want a strong result this weekend, not just for the obvious reasons, but he's going into his home race in Toronto next week. It is always so much nicer going into that home event off the back of a strong result with a little bit of momentum.
So like the previous 2 drivers with Ilott and Abel, Devlin is chasing the throttle in between 1 and 2. Let's see if he stays flat. He does, so that's the first I've seen flat through 3 and 4. We'll see how it pays off at the line.
181.0 for the first. It's slower than Callum Ilott. So DiFrancesco second quickest on his first lap, using a little bit more of the hybrid then on the second exit of 4, drains it to 0, and over the line second for his second lap as well. So DiFrancesco slots in just behind Callum Ilott.
It's interesting, T-Bell, seeing him able to hold flat in 3 and 4. Still not quite as quick. I wonder if we're already starting to see a bit of a difference between the Hondas and Chevys. Chevy's very dominant in practice. We do have a different engine setup for this race this year. Slightly lower boost than what we ran here in the last few seasons. And as we saw at Gateway, this type of circuit really does seem to suit the bow tie.
Well, all season we've talked about Chevy power at the very top of the rev range, kind of peaky power, where Honda seems to always deliver really good mid-range power, which advantages Honda-powered cars, I think, at tracks like Mid-Ohio, or especially the street circuits where Kyle Kirkwood's had so much success. But you come to a place where it's all revs, all power at the top end, and I think things balance right back out, if not leaning in favor to Chevrolet as we watch Robert Schwartzman, the pole sitter from Indy. Can he do it again? Pretty big lift in 1 and 2.
Yeah, big lift, way slower than his teammate Ilott through 1 and 2. Robert Schwartzman, the pole sitter in the Indianapolis 500, but at Gateway, only 24th on the grid on his first ever short course oval. But that first lap time is good enough to go top and faster than his teammate Callum Ilott. It's a 181.3 for lap 1 for Robert Schwartzman in the Prema, rounding 3, exiting 4. That's how fast this track disappears underneath them over the line. And Schwartzman for his second lap goes top as well on a 182.4.
Good solid run. I mean, we have to remember this is his 3rd oval event of his life. And this oval is nothing like Indianapolis or Gateway. Completely different playing field here. very little track time to get acclimated. I think he should be very pleased with that run. It looks solid.
That's a lap that would put you in the top 5 in practice. I know everybody's going to go quicker. You've got the track to yourself. You've got the full qualifying setup on, but still a big jump from what the lap times that he was turning in practice. That's impressive.
This guy Stingray Rob was 24th in practice, but his teammate Connor Daly, impressing once again on the ovals, was 8th. So how much of that information from Connor Daly's run will Stingray be able to put to good use right now?
Information and confidence.
And setup. I mean, maybe some changes that Connor would have put on his car that all of a sudden, maybe it makes Stingray's car feel like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I needed.
And if Stingray just crossed the start-finish line to get the green flag and start that lap, he had a big lift in 3-4, had to do, I think, an unplanned downshift, so you're not coming to the start of the lap with as much pace as you want, just feathering it a tiny bit through 3 and 4 to finish this first lap.
Minimum speed looked well down to that of Schwartzman, and that puts him fourth.
Fourth for lap 1,
little wiggle.
Lap 2, a wiggle, a lift, and you can hear it and you can see the gap compared to the leader, Robert Schwartzman. This won't challenge for the top time at the moment, but tidy out of 4th for Stingray Rob. Where will this put him for race 2, also in 4th? So best speed so far, that of the Premas. It's a 181.3 and a 181.2 for the 2 Premas for race 1, a 182.4 and a 182.2 for race 2. That's the front row as it stands. Now what can this guy do? Louis Foster still finding his way, still learning the INDYCAR series, but he is already, albeit on a road course, a pole sitter in 2025, bristling with confidence coming here this weekend, even to the extent of calling the team out halfway through the season on their strategies for him. That's just how confident he's getting behind the wheel, but he knows that ovals are a completely different question for RLL, as they proved to be all the way through this year. What can the reigning Indy Next champion do on his first run around this incredibly fast short course oval, through 3, through 4, across the line for Louis Foster? A little wiggle as he gets out there as well, and it is the fastest that we've seen so far, a 182.3.
And that from a Honda, so Honda right there with Chevy power, as well as Foster looks right at home here. This was his first IndyCar qualifying ever at Iowa, and he did a great job.
Over the line for him, and that one is slower, a 181.8. So lost about a half a mile an hour between the 2 runs. The only driver, pretty much I think we've seen so far, who's gone slower on the second lap than he did on the first.
But a big test for Louis Foster is going to be, where does he sit to his teammate Graham Rahal? 20 races of experience here, James. I mean, this guy's seen it all at this place. He's watched this racing surface age considerably over all those years. A completely different kind of racetrack than when we first started coming here when it was new. You can see all of the patina and character to the racing surface now. But if Louis Foster can out-qualify Graham at Iowa, that'll be huge.
That will be huge. And this was a team that didn't test here. There was a big group test a few weeks back. This team opted to use that day at a different circuit. So with the truncated practice session, it made it even more difficult for this group to get up to speed as Graham takes the green flag.
They did choose another short course oval. They chose Milwaukee for their test, but Graham Rahal nicely through 1 and 2. This a tidy run so far for lap 1 for Graham Rahal, through 3 and 4. And the first one is not quite as fast as Louis Foster. It's only a 181.4.
Oh, Graham looking pretty high through turn 2, way up into the gray.
I'm shocked at that pace based on the throttle trace we saw from that onboard. The car didn't look that bad, but the pace just isn't there.
Foster dropped down on his second lap, but Rahal improves on his second lap. It's best of the bunch so far for Graham Rahal. That time a 182.4. And he found a whole mile an hour between lap 1 and lap 2.
A whole mile an hour as well. So this is how it currently stands then for race 1. Pole position for Louis Foster from Graham Rahal, Robert Schwartzman, Callum Ilott, Devlin DiFrancesco, Stingray Rob and Jacob Abel. On the opposite side, race 2 sees Graham Rahal on pole position from Robert Schwartzman, Callum Ilott, Louis Foster, Devlin DiFrancesco, Stingray Rob and Jacob Abel. So we've got the 2 qualifyings alongside us here. This is our new qualifying graphic for oval races. We hope you like it. This is what we'll be experiencing for quali with our graphic. It took us a while to update it because we didn't have access to it till now. But 2 races, 2 on the format here. Ericsson is next up. Then it'll be Newgarden, Daly, Siegel, Rasmussen, Simpson, Rossi, VK, Malukas, McLaughlin, Ferrucci. So forth down on the board as well. So there's a lot more coming as to what we could be expecting here today. But it is a superb atmosphere building as Graham Rahal gets out of the car. It's a 181.478 for race 1. Race 2, it's provisional pole though at a 182.409. So there are improvements coming here at Iowa Speedway. And this is the race weekend. This is qualifying for race 1 and 2. And Graham looks happy. Very, very happy. Foster currently on pole at the moment, but Rahal's back to the front.
Tonight, gives a little slap to
Send it back down.
McLaughlin, yeah. Ericsson out on track. Marcus Ericsson completes his warm-up lap and begins his first flyer, the Swedish driver, who has only finished outside the top 10 at this circuit on 2 occasions in his now many visits to Iowa. Feeling confident running into this session was Marcus Ericsson, but Andretti only had 2 cars at their disposal during practice to try to find the optimum setup, and it's not quick for his first lap. Third fastest as things stand, a 181.463.
He was pinned through 3 and 4 on that last lap. Had a little bit of a breathe into 1 and 2, kind of predicting it, holding it flat now.
But only good enough for 4th on his second lap.
Go back to Graham Rahal and Louis Foster out-qualifying Marcus Ericsson. Listen, this guy's had 7 top 10s out of 9 tries here at Iowa. He's a solid runner here, so our LL should feel pretty pleased that they're ahead of Ericsson.
I'm going to look at it the other way. I'm going to look at it as Marcus Ericsson and the 28 crew are going to be pretty disappointed that run wasn't a little bit quicker as we watch the King of Corn Country coming out onto racetrack to show everybody how it's done.
This guy is the benchmark at Iowa. There are no other words to describe Newgarden other than dominant at this racetrack. He's led, what, more laps than the entire field at this place. He needs this result. He needs to own the weekend like he has so many other times. It's been a disaster this season, but the ultimate recovery could come in a few hours.
Joseph Newgarden will want to put the season behind him. Get the year properly kicked off here, more than halfway through the season. He loves this track. He runs so well here. He has, though, only 1 pole to his name. Will today be the day for another? He goes straight to the top with a 183.999. And on his second run, Newgarden looking absolutely hooked up. That Penske looking wonderful out on circuit. Will this be enough for another P1 for Joseph Newgarden? You bet it will. A 183.316.
So you know how therapeutic that is for Joseph Newgarden right now after the last few races that he's had to just go out and remind himself and everybody, yes, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is what Team Penske is known for. Just a huge weight off his shoulders. I know it's just qualifying, but God, that's got to feel good.
Well, look, it's not like he didn't have pace at Gateway. He was leading that race when he got taken out. This team is well aware of what they're capable of and the pace that they've got. They just have had some horrific luck in the last few rounds.
But think about what happened at Road America. Went off on his own. Mid-Ohio, crashed on the start on his own. Those really lean into you heavily as a driver. And, you know, didn't really have pace there, but those were all unforced errors. And it's just what a difference it makes for this guy, the King of Corn, to come back here. But how about Connor Daly, Will? Because he has been electric on the short ovals.
Electric and electrifying. If you want a driver to watch out for this weekend, it will be, I think, this man and a couple of others. Connor Daly topped the test session here, has been fast all the way through today. He has so much intent coming into this weekend to put up a good result on a circuit that he absolutely adores. What's his first lap look like? It's good enough for second, just shy of Joseph Newgarden, 183.714 for Connor Daly in the Juncos Hollmer Racing car, already coming to the end of that second lap. That is just how fast and how short this circuit is. And over the line for Connor Daly, where does this one put him? It's second again, 182.943, just shadowing Joseph Newgarden, and he will be happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be a run that's going to put a little bit of pep in his step. He lost about the same amount of lap time as Joseph did, so that car just a few tenths of a mile an hour off of what the number 2 did. But for that team and that driver, you want to talk about the boost that Joseph just had from that run. Connor Daly is going to be absolutely flying high after it. And if he can start high, we know he can make moves in the race and move forward.
What about Nolan Siegel? Fresh off the back of his best ever qualifying performance last time out at Mid-Ohio, where we started from the second row of the grid. Of course, a completely different consideration in terms of track this weekend on the short course oval. But Nolan Siegel, you know what? He was one of those drivers, James, that found himself a little bit of space during practice this morning to attempt a qualifying run. And when he did, he went really well.
Yeah, he worked really hard at finding that track position in practice, and you can see it's paying off here, just essentially hanging off the gearbox of Joseph Newgarden in the Ghost car in front. Let's see what that first lap gets him.
It's 183.9 for Newgarden, 182.8 for Nolan Siegel. That's third quickest at the moment, so behind Connor Daly. A Chevrolet-powered car just like that at the Juncos Hollmer. Can he get it above Daly for the second lap and the second race?
Tracking pretty well on this one.
He does. Siegel to second, ahead of Daly for race 2. And as we wait for Christian Rasmussen, Joseph Newgarden standing by with Georgia.
And we'll hear from the King of Corn Country. You had a little time to debrief. You put the 2 where you knew it could go. How do you think it'll hold up?
We'll see. I mean, it's an okay run, so need to have a good race car.
Thanks.
So Christian Rasmussen out on track for ECR, and you know what? This team look fantastic. Rossi was third quickest in practice. Rasmussen was 6th fastest in practice. And Rasmussen, when we take him on the basis of what he did at Gateway, is one of those drivers, like a Daly, like a Ferrucci, like a Malukas, that you cannot take your eyes off this weekend, because the opportunity for something special from this guy always exists.
Had that close brush with the wall in practice, but managed to get away with it, as we've seen him do a few times already this year. Bit of a lift in 1 and 2, looks planted in 3 and 4.
Yeah, looks pinned through that. Little shape up over the line for him, but it's not fast. It's a 181.1. That's only good enough at the moment for 9th place for the first race, and he'll be disappointed with that, deeply disappointed with that. Can he find a burst of pace on this second lap around Iowa Speedway? 9th for lap 1, it's 9th for lap 2, and that is nowhere near the level that we expected from him or from the team.
Yeah, he'll be disappointed with that for sure, because there are still so many fast cars to run. It's 9th right now, but he's going to find himself outside the top 20 most likely.
It's an interesting time for this team, because you remember over the last several years, it was always Ed Carpenter filling in these oval races where the other car was full-time. Now both cars full-time, meaning same drivers at all tracks during the season. So the team, in a way, is sort of in uncharted territory, James, with Rossi and Rasmussen, the young driver, given all the oval feedback. Gone is the mastery of Ed Carpenter on the ovals. He's the team owner, sits on the box. But this is another young driver, Will, that is really starting to come on in his second season.
He really is. The lessons learned in his rookie year, when he comes through now to race, there is an increased confidence with him at every turn of the wheel. We saw it last time out at Mid-Ohio, like Nolan Siegel, his best ever qualifying result in his IndyCar Series career, 4th fastest on that day. His first lap here places him not great. It's down on row 6 at the moment. That's only 11th fastest of the runners so far. Kiffin Simpson in the Ganassi, the number 8 Journey Rewards car, has 36% of his hybrid left to deploy. Townsend out of 4 and over the line. And for Kiffin Simpson, it is also 10th in that run. So not where he expected either.
Really struggling was Kiffin Simpson in 1 and 2 to either trust the car or the balance was off there. Didn't have an issue in 3 and 4, but it seemed really in the first 2 corners is where Kiffin Simpson was hunting for grip, hunting for confidence. It makes all the difference as you look at the spread of lap times. I mean, Newgarden to Jacob Abel, close to 10 miles an hour for race 1 qualifying. That's a big gap, and that's going to factor huge in the race this afternoon. Lap traffic.
Right, ECR have a second bite of the cherry, and it's with Alexander Rossi, who was 3rd fastest in practice this morning. What, if anything, can Rasmussen have relayed back to the team, relayed back to Rossi that will help him now on his run as he runs to the green flag? Alexander Rossi with 2 laps.
He's had 12 races here. Surprisingly, never a top 5 finish. I would think this place was tailor-made for Rossi's driving style, which is really much like Joseph Newgarden. Bold, brave, decisive. It just hasn't come together yet.
Ghost Car gives the impression that Rossi is not as far up as Newgarden was, and indeed it's only 5th quick for that first lap. Up the second, that little dip down the very tiny straight. Maximum commitment through the left-hander, 3 and into 4. Newgarden still ahead by only just a small amount. Is this an improvement for Rossi? It's only good enough for 8, and for ECR, what had looked so promising after practice looks nowhere near that now. These, some of the drivers to come today.
Well, a very big surprise then about what we're seeing in the qualifying format ahead of the race 1 here tonight. Certainly it's going to be interesting. So, this is your grid then for race 1 at the moment. Newgarden, Daly, Siegel, Foster, Rossi, Rahal, Ericsson, Schwartzman, Eilert, Rasmussen, Di Francesco, Simpson, Robb and Abel, the 14 cars. Race 2 sees Newgarden, Siegel, Daly. As we go back to Sky.
Before they start making some real changes. Well, I think the real conundrum, and you can kind of see the confusion on Rossi's face, both of his laps slower than what he ran in practice. That's not usually how this goes when you go into qualifying, and you can see there's something missing. They realize there's something wrong, and now it's going to be back to the drawing board to get a few hours left to figure out exactly how to make this thing faster.
Practice, of course, with 26 cars out on track at one point earlier today. Now just that one car out on track, and ECR's pace.
So Scott McLaughlin hits the wall here in qualifying. Mid-corner. Yeah, and it snaps in mid-corner. Rear into the wall. The Penske misery continues here. Let's take another look at it. Snap mid-corner on entry. McLaughlin will start at the back of the grid for race 1 and 2.
A nasty accident for Scott McLaughlin. And Penske's horrible season just continues to unravel. We talked to Will Power about it yesterday, James, about how when you get into that
so early.
Yeah. When you get into that cycle as a team, when you downward spiral, anything that can happen very often does.
And it's all happening to Team Penske right now.
Well, Newgarden and McLaughlin won't be on pole. We know that, at least for race 2. And McLaughlin's never started worse than 5th until today, as we take a look back to his qualifying weekend crash at Indy in turn 2, up and over, and then of course the warm-up crash that happened before the race. This is another look at that qualifying practice crash for McLaughlin, a massive hit, destroyed an amazing race car, and then you had the Indy 500 pace lap crash, and now this today for a driver that had seemingly found his groove on ovals. James, how quickly it can slip through your fingers.
And at a track where he took that very first oval win.
Yeah, it's a special place for Scott. You know, that first oval win meant an awful lot to him. It was a very important thing for him to achieve. He got so close so early in his IndyCar career. Took him longer than he wanted, but you can see from that onboard especially how bumpy the entry is. And it just upset the car, caught that little wiggle, and with the weight of these cars right now, it's so hard to catch. But Townsend, this is what you were talking about, that warm-up lap crash.
I mean, this one stings the most. Just trying to warm his tires before the biggest race of his career. Didn't even find the green flag.
It feels harsh to show them, but how else to exemplify the difficulties for Penske's season? And the AMR safety team taking away the remains of Scott McLaughlin's X-Bell Chevy. And guys, I mean, I didn't have Scott down on my bingo card today of drivers that we'd see making that kind of a mistake. No. It was a huge one from the guy who has looked absolutely nailed, absolutely on it throughout practice today.
Guys, the race is in less than 3 hours.
It's a great point.
That thing is completely folded up at the back. Gearbox, suspension, probably hybrid unit, maybe motor. It's
a big job.
It's a tall order to get either that or the backup car ready to go.
But look, if there's one team that's prepared for a situation like this, pull off some incredible feats of repair in the past, including at qualifying at Indy after McLaughlin's warm-up crash there. So it's a tall order. It's going to be a stressful day, but I'm pretty sure they'll be able to get it done. And you know, McLaughlin's going to have to start from the back in a car that has not turned a lap since it's been repaired.
AMR safety team's going to have quite a few little bits to try to identify there up by the wall, and anything would have sort of exploded or ricocheted down lower on the track. Luckily, no fluid seemingly coming out of that race car right now, so that should speed the cleanup.
And the strength of the safer barrier. Doing its job once again. An interesting nugget, James, that you pointed out earlier today. There is no wall behind the safety barrier.
Yeah,
behind the safer barrier. Pretty
unique design here at Iowa Speedway. It's just the steel that support the safer barrier. Kind of a cool innovation.
Tuesday. It's the Midsummer Classic as Judge, Shohei, and baseball's biggest stars head to Atlanta for the MLB All-Star Game. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, only on Fox. So the last shards of Scott McLaughlin's X-Bell Chevy being taken away from the Iowa Speedway. A big crash down at turn 1 on his first flying lap of his qualifying attempt means he will start both races from the back of the field. Another look at it here as he gets it turned in. And I think, Townsend, your description, probably the best. Handling like a forklift truck.
Yeah, all rear steer from McLaughlin. In the cockpit, that would have felt like the slightest little input, and then all of a sudden you're saving it. And once it steps out, James, as you pointed out, with the mass of the hybrid unit this year, let's just watch on board. He's going to catch it briefly once, and then that's it. It's going to snap, and it starts to oscillate like a pendulum.
You see that little bump. You know, again, we've talked about the bumps of this racetrack. For an oval, incredibly bumpy. Not the kind of thing you want when he's kind of speeds like that. And just after turning, you know, to get a good run through turn 1 and 2 here, the real trick is really widening up, arcing into the corner, widening up that entry. And maybe he went just a little bit more than he had been, saw a little bit of a bump, found a bump he hadn't had before, and that's what caused the issue.
Some big names still to come here in qualifying at Iowa Speedway. Amongst them, the most recent race winner, Scott Dixon, and a guy who always goes fast on the ovals, Pato O'Ward. Umbrellas up. Don't worry, folks. It's not raining. For the sunshine. So far, Newgarden fastest from Group 1 from Connor Daly, Nolan Siegel and David Malukas. Group 2, David Malukas fastest from Newgarden, Siegel and Daly. I have to say, I do like this 2 laps, 2 races.
Okay, apologies for that one. We had a slight issue. We're just going to get INDYCAR Radio on for us and continue on with that one. Apologies that you guys have missed that, but we have Christian Lundgaard pushing on right now on the circuit as he makes his way through, and he is trying to find the time. Run 1 currently puts him in 17th position, but he's just going to try and extract it all and continue on. Let's see whether he's going to be able to do it. Let's join INDYCAR Radio to find that out.
To say, just not a good balance, and Siegel actually ran not bad in that his teammate, and we'll see what Pato O'Ward, his other teammate, could do later on. And we still have Dixon, O'Ward, Kirkwood, and Palou to go, so obviously some drivers that are a threat for P1 for both races. Yeah, right, here's one. I mean, never count Scott Dixon out of it. Our winner last week and 3rd winner of the season. Scott Dixon's on track right now in that PNC Bank and Nasty car. You never, like I say, he could lay one down as well. And he's putting it through the warm-up pace. He does so off of turn number 4. He sees Aaron Likens throw the green flag and point him to turn number 1.
3 poles here, but one of the rare tracks that he has never won on. The Kiwi Scott Dixon exits turn number 2. That car looks good. Wind picks up again as he enters turn number 3, greeting him right in the face. Exiting now turn number 4, back in, wiggled ever so slightly. Lap 1 complete.
All-time leader in starts here with 21, and it's not fastest, but it is fast. 4th fastest, in fact, Michael, at 182.924.
Let's see if he can pick up the pace here in lap number 2 now that he knows what he has underneath him. Scott Dixon exits turn number 4, a winner just 1 weekend to go.
And Scott Dixon on lap number 2, a tick slower, and he shifts back to 7th fastest provisionally for race number 2, Davey, at 182.664. Yes, 2 laps, very consistent, almost identical on times, but as you said, 4th quickest in race 1 and 7th quickest in race number 2. So just 3 qualifiers remaining, and of the 3, I think all eyes will be on Kyle Kirkwood, not only because his teammates have struggled a bit, but because this will be his first lap since they repaired that race car. Yeah, he didn't hit very hard, but did a lot of damage, was not able to get out and do any shakedown laps in that car. You know the car's going to be right. You know you can trust his crew, but it's going to be interesting to see what the balance is going to be like. So right now for race number 1, provisionally, your front row will be Joseph Newgarden and Connor Daly. Let's see, for race number 2 right now, it would be Felix Rosenquist, and David Malukas.
Yeah, pretty interesting. How about that? It's mixed all up right now. Then Rosenquist and Dixon in the second row of the first one as well. So it's all mixed up right now.
Yeah, Joseph Newgarden would start third in the race tomorrow, provisionally. Pato O'Ward, super popular driver of the NTT IndyCar Series. Fan base continues to grow, and understandably so. An incredibly fan-friendly and likable driver takes the green flag and heads to turn 1.
Had a lazy spin in that morning practice session, exiting turn number 2. Thought he was going to have a moment there in turn number 4 as he washed high. Let's see how he fares here in lap number 1. Pato O'Ward exiting turn number 4. Looked good this time through. Lap number 1 complete.
Yeah, sure looked pretty good, Michael,
Yeah.
and it is pretty good. Fourth fastest at 183.096 off of turn number 2.
Trying to pick up that pace, trying to maximize what he has. His teammate Nolan Siegel did well. Christian Lundgaard, not so much. For Pato O'Ward, the run is complete as he sees the checkered flag.
Yeah, and lap number 2, a tick slower, but not much, but he tumbles to 8th fastest at 182.645. I think all in all, for all intents and purposes, he's going to be happy with his race car. We'll hear from him in just a few minutes after we hear from his teammate, Christian Lundgaard.
And his teammate on the opposite side of the spectrum, not very happy with the race car. So what was the biggest struggle out there for you in the 17?
Yeah, I mean, we're okay on balance this morning, and qualifying was just a very, very different balance than we've had all day. So very disappointing. Yeah, very disappointed.
Another driver that said they were happy earlier this morning and not happy during qualifying.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a mystery for some of these drivers, isn't it?
It's not easy. So we talked so many things. Sun on the racetrack, cloud cover, wind direction, and so many little things make such a big difference sometimes.
Sukup sponsorship on the car of Kyle Kirkwood as he takes the green flag.
Trying to make sure he doesn't make the mistake he had earlier this morning as he enters turn number 3, now coming upon the scene where he made a contact with that outside retaining wall. This is a good-looking lap for Kyle Kirkwood, but does he have the speed?
And he does not. 17th fastest, Michael, at 181.130, setting up for the backstretch.
So the car has been repaired. Everybody complaining about the conditions. We'll see if Kyle Kirkwood can find some speed here in lap number 2. Again, looks good. Will he find any speed in lap 2?
He will. Let's see. Looking at timing and scoring, Kyle Kirkwood, 181.130. Davey, I'm looking down the line.
181.181. Yeah.
Settles in at 20th fastest at 181.181. Got to give the crew a lot of credit, though, for repairing that damage and even giving him a chance to qualify.
17th in one, and right now Timley 20th in the next one. So you're right, just almost identical times. He was obviously going to be a little conservative for that, so not, you just do what you can at this point.
Let's hear from Scott Dixon.
Scott, everybody talking about some tricky conditions out here for qualifying. How'd the PNC Bank Honda feel?
Yeah, balance-wise, not too bad. Maybe a little bit light on the front, and then we had a mixture change late, which kind of caught me off guard starting the lap, and then we started kind of poorly. So, yeah, there was definitely still some left in it. We'll see where we kind of fare here, maybe, kind of around the top sort of 6 or 7 here for both races. So, car feels good. We'll have to see how we get on this evening.
That's Mid-Ohio winner Scott Dixon.
That Mid-Ohio winner indeed, Scott Dixon. And the records continue to pile up or be extended for Scott Dixon. Your points leader, final qualifier on the afternoon, takes the green flag, already setting up for the halfway point of the backstretch.
Qualified 3rd and 2nd last year in races 1 and 2. Race 1, one of the races where he made a rare mistake right here, exiting turn number 4. Lap 1 complete for Alex Palou.
Lap number 1 in the books for Alex Palou and Joseph Newgarden.
Walloping through there, and he is tracking with Joseph Newgarden. How's 3 and 4? Will Newgarden hang on to the pole, or can Palou snatch it from him? Race 1, Palou's only 4th. Newgarden has the pole for race 1, but what about for race 2? It is nip and tuck between Palou and Rosenquist, who hasn't had a pole since Long Beach last year. There is nothing in it between the two of them. Palou to snatch it away from Rosenquist over the line in Iowa, and he does. 184.0, Alex Palou with his first pole at Iowa Speedway.
And the fastest lap of anybody over those 2 laps, quicker than Newgarden's race 1 pole.
Last oval pole for Palou was the 2023 Indy 500.
And he just grabbed another point in the championship with that performance.
He needs that.
Yeah, he needed a buffer.
Well, apologies for the lack of content as well. This is your full grid then as well, with Newgarden, Daly, Rosenquist, Palou. We'll be back later for all of the racing action. Bye-bye.